Hello and welcome back to my Linux Noob versus Arch Linux series, and well, there have not been any videos up recently because I have been sick, but now I am back and we are back to our favorite Arch installation where today we are going to experiment with setting up the default terminal application. So when we installed the Nemo file browser, which is this application here, if you remember, we set up the terminal using this Gsettings parameter. So the Nemo this Nemo file explorer is coming from the Cinnamon desktop, so we use the Gsettings set-org Cinnamon desktop default applications the terminal exec for the terminal name. And well, since then I have expanded on this wiki page, because if you do that, the thing in this right-click menu, the open in terminal, it works. So in our case, the URXVT terminal opens up, and I made this test shell script here, which is very simple. It just says it's a test and press enter to continue. So it requires a user input, basically. So if I say here test sh, it says this is a test, press enter to continue. So now this works. You can see that this little script works, but if I just double click here and I say run in terminal, then nothing happens. So the reason is that if we are going to Gsettings and we want to get the what is it, org.cinnamon.desktop.default application or applications, default applications dot terminal exec, then you can see it's URXVT. But if I check what's the exec-arg, then you can see it's -x. And so if I go for URXVT -help, so this will this tell us anything? How to use? Yes. So usage URXVT options -e command args. So here we have the exec-arg, which is set to -x. So when this Cinnamon desktop or the Nemo file browser, which is part of the Cinnamon desktop, which uses the Cinnamon desktop settings, basically that's what it means, then it will try to run URXVT -x. But here in the URXVT help, we can see that we should use the -e to run any commands. And so let's set this thing up. So instead of gsettings get, now we are going to say gsettings set, and we will override it to -e. So now if I go back to gsettings get, you can see it's gonna be -e, and this is now, if you look up the Nemo page in the Arch wiki, you will find this exact way of setting up the things for it to work. So now that we set it up, set the exec argument to -e, let's double click here, run in terminal, and voila! Our shell script now runs from double clicking in the file browser. So this works. And now there is something else. So this we made it work using the file browser through the Gsettings settings, and so if I go for Gsettings, then you can see that in the Gsettings we can list all these schemas. So let's say Gsettings list dash schemas. We'll see a lot of things. You can see the Cinnamon desktop default applications is here, for example. So if I just grep default here, then we can see that there is like this Gnome desktop default applications.terminal. There is a Cinnamon desktop default applications.terminal. So let's just grab terminal here. Yeah, so here we can see that there is the terminal set up for the Cinnamon desktop, and there is the terminal for the Gnome desktop, which is supposed to work for the whole Gnome desktop environment, which is what the Budgie desktop environment is based on. So the thing is that let's test this by sudo -s gvim. So I will install sudo pacman. I left out the most important thing, the pacman command there. So let's get gvim. And so gvim is basically a package which contains graphical vim, which is an updated version of vi, and also contains just the regular command line vim. So now that this one is installed, and it will get into our menu here. So this is the gvim. You can see this opens like the graphical interface, and if I go for vim, well, nothing happens. So of course we were checking up these things here, and if I just wanna see what else we can see, so we can get the keys for a schema. So let's go for list keys. So Gsettings list keys org.gnome.desktop.default-applications.terminal. And of course, same as we had with the Cinnamon desktop, we have exec-arg and we have exec. And if I just say let's get the exec, what is the executable here? Well, it's GNOME terminal, so I will be setting this up to URXVT, and of course the exec-arg will be -e. So now let's go back to get exec URXVT, and URXVT should run vim. What happens? Still nothing happens. So this is what was the problem that I ran into a few weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, and so I turned to the only source of knowledge I could trust. I turned to the Arch Linux forums, and I asked about this. I wrote down a lot of things I figured out, and there was one guy who was kind enough to direct me to the GitLab page of GNOME. And so what he is saying is that the Gsettings option for the default terminal application is deprecated in recent GNOME versions. Don't ask me why, but GNOME unfortunately uses a hard-coded list of terminal applications that it checks for launching. So what is the problem here is that if you know anything about coding, even if you don't know, you can see that how it works is that basically checks is there a Gnome terminal, is there a Mate terminal, is there an exec-arg terminal, and if it finds any of these three, then it will try to run the command using the -x argument, and then it will look for nx term, color x term, rxvt, dt term, and x term, and if it finds any of these, then it will run it with the -e argument. So we have URXVT and not rxvt, so that's why the GNOME desktop won't find it by itself. So basically what the solution is, what we figured is that we will have to make a hard link of this URXVT. So we'll make a new link for which will be called rxvt, and that will link to the URXVT. So let's get into our command line here. Let's cd, and let me clear this screen first. So cd /usr/bin. So here, in this folder, there are all the commands, all the programs that you can run and you can find. Like Vim is here, you can see, etc., etc. So this is usr/usr/bin, and so here we will make a link to URXVT by the name rxvt, and this will be, we need the sudo privilege here because this is we need to be root. This is like not our user folder, this is a universal system resource. And then so ln for making the link, -s for making the symbolic link, I guess, and rxvt will be our link name, and it will be linking to URXVT. So it will of course ask for our password. Failed to create a symbolic link. Oh, maybe I mixed up the order here. Yep. I will have to edit my my comment there. Anyway, so now that we made, let's ls list, and let's see if we have any rxvt here. So we have rxvt and we have URXVT, and if we say file rxvt is a symbolic link to URXVT. So now what happens if I go to my Budgie menu and I click on Vim? Now Vim appeared in URXVT. So we have managed to make this thing work very good. So of course, if you want to know more about ln, then you can see how ln works, and now if I read this before, then I would have, yeah, the S is symbolic link, makes a symbolic link, and so yeah, if you check here, you have to first say target and then the link name. So target was here the URXVT and the link name was rxvt. Yeah, fortunately, you know, it won't overwrite URXVT with a link to some non-existent file. Luckily, the ln command is merciful enough for that to not screw up our system by a mistake like that. So this was today's episode. We talked about setting up our default terminal emulator on the Budgie desktop on Arch Linux, and we also worked around something that the Gnome developers did to make our life easier, but ended up making our life more difficult by accident. So I guess they thought that if they just hardcode the most important terminal applications in their code, then the users don't need to use the Gsettings, and then it's gonna be easier. But what if you have more terminal applications and you have one that you especially want to use, or your terminal application is not on the list? So yeah, we did some workarounds with this, and we learned some new things about Linux. So I hope it was as useful for you as it was for me to make this video, and I see you next time. Bye bye.